Hi there, everyone. This is meteorologist Joel Kurtz with your Alaska Weather TV show. Starting out today, I thought I'd show y'all some today's lightning. This is the total lightning at about 1:30 p.m. Alaska Daylight Time this afternoon, and quite a bit of lightning activity south of Kodiak Island and south of the Alaska Peninsula, mainly over water, but a few near islands. One stroke was up in the western Alaska Range on the other side of Cook Inlet from Kenai. This is courtesy of the Alaska Interagency Coordination Center, and I put their website up on the screen in case anybody wants to go there and monitor lightning in the future. It's not that uncommon at this time of year to get lightning out over especially the Gulf of Alaska. We're nearing the peak time of year for lightning. And the reason is that we have cold air aloft moving over warm water. So taking a look at today's satellite, we've got a couple of low centers. First of all, one is out in the central Bering Sea, and it is an older system with a front wrapped around it. And then a new system is developing near Sandpoint with some precipitation and out ahead of it, and also there were some thunderstorms earlier, as we earlier mentioned. There's also a very old low pressure system that is dissipated near Bethel, and then there is a very, very weak frontal system moving over the state. As you can see in today's weather map, this frontal system is hardly carrying any precipitation with it, but there is some showers out behind it. And the front is wrapped around that 989 millibar low in the Bering Sea. And then that's connected to the low that's developing near Sandpoint with a warm front out ahead of it and some heavier rain out over the Gulf. And then also I've shown here where the lightning was earlier today, and as well as a cold front following. So there is a little bit of cooler air wrapped up in the system. Also a 1026 millibar high pressure system south of Haida Gwaii, which is still there's some onshore flow for southeast Alaska, bringing some light precipitation in a few spots there. So for tonight's weather, you can see that weak front that's stretched out over the central part of the interior. Not much to that system, very little precipitation to it, most of it actually behind the front itself. But now you can see the two lows. The main low near the Pribilofs has weakened to 990 millibars, and the new low now off of Kodiak Island with the front wrapped around it is down to 989 millibars. Plenty of heavy rain out ahead of this system, snow in the higher elevations, and then plenty of showers on the south side and the west side of this system. And then looking ahead to Thursday's weather, now we have the low has even deepened a little bit further, very slow mover, not rapidly strengthening. 987 millibars front wrapped around it, and there is a point where all the air masses meet southwest of Haida Gwaii, and that's where a new low will be forming. Plenty of heavy rain out ahead of the frontal system, and then we have that very, very weak front hardly holding together at all over the central interior. And then for Friday's weather, a new frontal system is entering from the northwest. There's a little bit of snow that's going along with that. It's still uncertain, and we're kind of watching that to see how that pans out. A new low pressure system is developing south of Shimia. It's 989 millibars. There's a front wrapped around it. This is a bit of a warmer system there, and there will be some heavy rain out ahead of that system. In the meantime, the low has now formed a new center, 987 millibars off of Dixon Entrance. Some heavier rain out ahead of the frontal system again, and plenty of showers out behind it. So looking at our low temperatures Thursday morning, we've got temperatures in the mid-40s for southeast Alaska and the mid-40s for south central as well. 37 for the Gulkana and Glen Allen area, 48 for Kodiak. And then for our high temperatures Thursday afternoon, temperatures in the mid-50s across southeast Alaska. And then again, mainly in the 50s as we get over to south central, but 49 for Valdez and up to 55 for Kodiak. And then our low temperatures Friday morning, again, temperatures generally in the mid 40s, down to 41 for Yakutat, 31 for Glen Allen, 37 for Talkeetna, but generally in the 40s for most of South Central and 48 for Kodiak. And then as we get to Friday afternoon, temperatures in the mid to upper 50s for Southeast Alaska, even 60 for Prince of Wales Island, 56 for Yakutat, 54 for Glen Allen, and then temperatures generally in the mid 50s for South Central. For our low temperatures Thursday morning for the North Slope, temperatures drop below freezing, 29 to 30 degrees for most spots, but a few in the mid 30s still. And as you get further south, naturally a few are warmer, but if you get any clear skies, temperatures will drop to below freezing. 35 for Fort Yukon, 40 for Fairbanks, 40 for Kotzebue, but 38 for Nome. And as we get down to more McGrath or so, it's about 33. So any clearing will get cooler at night. And then for our high temperatures Thursday afternoon, temperatures generally in the mid 30s along the North Slope, except for 41 for the Dead Horse area, up to 57 for Fort Yukon, 57 also for Fairbanks. Looking over at Kotzebue, 43, 47 for Nome, and then generally as you get in the 50s, a little bit further south. For our low temperatures Friday morning, again, temperatures drop below freezing for a few spots along the North Slope with that cooler air mass moving in, but 35s in the northeast. As you get a little bit further south, of course, warmer. 34 for Fort Yukon. They might have had a little bit of clearing overnight. 38 for Fairbanks, 35 for Kotzebue, and 33 for Nome. And then for our high temperatures Friday afternoon, the temperatures generally in the mid 30s, touching up to 40 for the farther western sections, and then 40 for Kotzebue, 45 for Nome, up to 57 for Fort Yukon, 56 for Fairbanks. And now looking toward the southwest for our low temperatures Thursday morning, we've got temperatures generally are in the 40s for the lows, up to 50 in a couple of spots, but 46 for the Pribilos and 41 for Bethel. And then as we look at our high temperatures Thursday afternoon, temperatures generally in the 50s all across the area. For our low temperatures Friday morning, again, temperatures in the 40s, a few dropping into the 30s, even near freezing as you get further inland. But all along the Alaska Peninsula, the Aleutians generally in the mid 40s and 44 for the Pribilos. And then for Friday afternoon, high temperatures in the 50s for the Bristol Bray area, but in the 40s as you get further over in southwest Alaska. Also down through the Alaska Peninsula, 53 up to 55 for Dutch Harbor, 53 for the Pribilos, and 53 for Shemya. So our 6 to 10 day outlook, we looked at this yesterday and I wanted to see if there were any revisions today. Still below normal for the North Slope there, and generally below normal temperatures for almost all of Alaska, forecasted for the 21st through the 25th. A little bit warmer temperatures for the Aleutians with some of those warmer systems coming up from the southwest. For our precipitation, the northwestern section still below normal, but as you look at southeast for the 6 to 10 day, they're above normal precipitation. And then our 8 to 14 revised today was below normal for most of the state, really focusing on the Brooks Range and the North Slope. Also below normal precipitation up there, but normal or above normal as you get further south, including the onshore flow for the Panhandle. And then I took a look today for you for the October, November, December outlook. And the forecast is for above normal temperatures for the North Slope, and they do have some signal to make that forecast there, but what they call equal chances for the southern portion of the state, including southeast Alaska, for temperature for those 3 months. And then looking for our outlook again, not much of a signal for the precipitation forecast for October, November, and December for most of the state, but forecasting a little bit above normal for the North Slope, and I think that's due to the warmer temperatures allowing for a little bit more rain and snow formation. Well, that's all the time we have. Thanks for tuning in, folks, and see you again sometime when I get the Alaska weather.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Now for the aviation weather segment. Starting out with our flying weather Thursday morning, we have IFR again all along the north slope, with a band of IFR extending down through Norton and Kotzebue Sound, associated with a front that's moving across from the northwest. Also IFR over much of the Bering Sea, including the Pribilofs, over to the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, Prince William Sound, up into northern south central, and a small patch of IFR in the Misty Fjords area southeast. Moving on to Thursday afternoon, an area of slight risk of thunderstorms over the far northeastern portion of the state, as that IFR with that frontal system as it moves through the north slope and down all the way to the southwestern corner of the state. Also, we have some IFR over the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, up into Prince William Sound, and off the coast and southeast. Then on Friday morning, lots of that IFR is dissipated, but there's still some hung up on the Alaska range associated with that weak front that's dissipating. Also IFR along the north slope into the Chukchi Sea, and some IFR along the southern Kenai Peninsula and over into the southern Gulf of Alaska. Then for Friday afternoon, IFR again along the north slope, an area of clearing in the western central area. Also, we have some IFR along the far western Aleutians and IFR moving up into southern southeast Alaska. For our pass conditions, Anaktuvik Pass, marginal VFR becoming IFR, and some chance of some isolated thunderstorms. Also for Adigan Pass, marginal VFR becoming IFR and a slight risk of thunderstorms. For Lake Clark and Merrill, both marginal VFR all day and turbulence expected. For Rainy Pass, IFR becoming marginal VFR. Windy Pass, IFR becoming marginal VFR. For Isabel Pass, IFR becoming marginal VFR and expecting some turbulence in the morning. Mentasta Pass, marginal VFR becoming VFR. Tahita Pass, IFR expected all day with turbulence. Portage Pass, marginal VFR becoming IFR, and IFR all over Prince William Sound. Expect turbulence all day. For Chilkoot and White Pass, VFR conditions, but expect turbulence for both passes in the afternoon. For our freezing levels, starting out with about 2,000 feet up in the Chukchi Sea and some surface layers up in there, and then building up to 4,000 feet as you get over the central interior, one pocket of 4,000 feet over Prince William Sound. And then as we move further south into the Gulf of Alaska, 6,000, ramping up to 10,000 feet. For icing on Thursday, some isolated moderate all across the northern sections of the state between 4,000 and 8,000 feet. That's associated with that weak frontal system moving in. Also, we have some isolated moderate between 6,000 and 12,000 feet for the Alaska Peninsula all the way up to Kodiak Island. And then the considerable moderate areas associated with the weather systems that's developing in the Gulf of Alaska between 5,000 and 12,000 feet. Then for our jet stream, the main band of the jet stream is well south of the state, except for the far western Aleutians, up to 155 knots. And we have some 65 knot southwesterlies along the Alcan. For our 9,000-foot winds on Thursday, we have the low off of Kodiak Island, some southerlies 40 knots up along the North Gulf Coast and 30 knots offshore for Bristol Bay, and crossing the Alaska Peninsula there about 40-45 knots or so. Some 50 knots making its way into Dixon Entrance. For 30,000-foot winds on Thursday, we have 30 knots over the Cook Inlet area, but check out that low-level jet from 60 to 65 knots all along the Gulf Coast, and that's what's causing that big area of turbulence. Then for our turbulence on Thursday, we've got surface to 6,000 feet for a large swath of considerable moderate turbulence stretching all the way from the southern panhandle on up into the Alaska Range, including Prince William Sound, the Kenai Peninsula, and also the Lake Iliamna area over into Bristol Bay. We do also have an area of considerable moderate turbulence below 4,000 feet, and that's for the Aleutians and the far sections of the Alaska Peninsula. So that's all the time we have for aviation today. Thanks for tuning in, and fly safe out there.
It's kind of hard to explain how important weather is to our job. I mean, it really affects everything we do.
In 2018, NOAA launches the GOES-S satellite, which takes its place in orbit as GOES-17. Working together with GOES-16, the two new geostationary weather satellites will provide constant watch over the United States and the Western Hemisphere, from the west coast of Africa all the way to New Zealand, helping monitor severe storms, wildfires, and daily weather patterns. Since its launch, NOAA's GOES-16 satellite has already demonstrated its critical capability for keeping our nation weather ready. Throughout the active 2017 hurricane season, GOES-16 delivered imagery with detail and clarity never achieved before, with 4 times greater resolution than previous NOAA satellites, and delivered this imagery faster than ever before, helping forecasters predict the path of a storm and where and when it will intensify. These accurate and timely forecasts allowed for emergency managers to prepare for evacuations, map flood areas, and save lives.
So the weather matters. The weather matters before the weather happens, and the weather matters after the event happens, because what we're able to do to prepare, allocate resources, provide information to the public through the media beforehand, and what we're able to do afterwards, how and when the waters are going to recede, so we know we can get vehicles with life-saving food and shelter equipment down a particular highway. All of that depends on the forecast.
In the GOES West position, GOES-17 will be able to provide critical data for the westernmost United States, Alaska, and Hawaii.
We're talking about getting data updates in just seconds, so we can quickly spot wildfires and closely monitor the wind direction and their intensity. The crispness of the data coming in at a faster rate will also help with fog forecasts. We can see the moment the stratus starts to develop or when it starts to move out.
Like GOES-16, GOES-17 carries a suite of advanced instruments, including tools for sophisticated earth sensing, lightning detecting, solar imaging, and space weather monitoring. As an equal partner in the sky, GOES-17 will expand coverage of the advanced baseline imager technology across the Pacific Ocean, allowing meteorologists and local officials to see severe weather systems developing in real time.
So instead of seeing something, say, this large, that as you zoom in actually gets kind of blurry, you're actually going to see something that is much more detailed.
In its GOES West position, GOES-17 will be able to monitor conditions in the western U.S. like wildfires, coastal fog, and atmospheric rivers when storms from the Pacific dump heavy rain and snow over the western U.S. GOES-17 will have a major impact on fighting wildfires in California. Up-to-the-minute information and crisp detail allows forecasters to spot fires faster than ever before, even before the first 911 calls come in, and to better track and predict the path of large, dynamic, and dangerous fires.
It's amazing to see what we can get and at the level of detail and the speed that we can get the information down into the ground that makes our decision-making way more accurate.
With a view of the Pacific Ocean, GOES-17 will also provide a critical eye over shipping lanes vital to the U.S. economy, protecting cargo and passenger vessels from dangerous ocean storms. GOES-17 will also provide a high-definition view over Alaska, resulting in better weather forecasts and improved monitoring of sea ice, wildfires, and volcanic ash. The advanced baseline imager on GOES-17 can distinguish between clouds, sea ice, and snow cover, a critical need during Alaska's dark, cloudy winter months. GOES-17's geostationary lightning mapper monitors lightning flashes, including the in-cloud lightning most prevalent in severe storms, helping forecasters determine when a storm is forming, intensifying, and becoming more dangerous. Thanks to GOES-17, emergency managers will be equipped with more accurate weather predictions and faster warnings, providing a real impact, saving lives, and protecting infrastructure. Watching over Earth from 22,300 miles above, GOES-S will provide vital data to our weather-ready nation.
Hi, I'm JPSS. I'm a high-tech weather satellite that orbits our planet. I do something called a polar orbit. I circle the Earth from North Pole to South Pole, over and over, while the Earth spins. While I do that, I get lots of information about what's going on around the globe. I watch storms, clouds, and rain. I take the temperature of the ocean, measure air quality, ozone health, and take pictures of the land and sea. This information is used for all kinds of things. It helps us take care of our coasts and oceans and all the amazing things that live there. It helps us monitor harmful weather events like floods and droughts and measure the health of the environment. Most importantly, it helps us predict weather 3 to 7 days in the future. That means I can be a big help ahead of storms, where future warnings are important. I send information to the National Weather Service. They use the information to create forecasts. The forecasts are shared with people all over the country to help prepare for weather emergencies. So you look to the sky and wave. I'll be flying by.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Hi everyone, and now for your marine forecast. Starting out with today's sea ice edge. Not much change the last couple of days. Still plenty of open water for the Beaufort Sea and the Chukchi Sea. Looking at Thursday's marine forecast, first for southeast, lots of gale force on the outside. Southeast 40 knots, seas up to 12 feet. And on the inside waters, around 20 knots or so, but gusts all the way up to 40 and seas 4 feet. Then on Friday, things back off quite a bit. Still some easterlies, 25 to 30 knots, but seas have built up to 15 feet on the outside. On the inside water, it's a pretty much offshore flow, around 20 knots or so, seas up to 4 feet. For south central waters, starting out with the easterly gales ranging from about 30 to up to 40 knots, seas building up to 12 feet. Prince William Sound, easterlies 30, seas 7 feet. And for Cook Inlet, wind ranging from 25 up to gale force 40 knots and seas 13 feet at lower Cook Inlet. And then for Friday's forecast, winds starting to come around, responding to the low that's in the central Gulf. Wind ranging on the outside 20 up to gale force 35 knots for Kennedy entrance and seas up to 14 feet. In the meantime, for Prince William Sound, northerlies 15 knots, seas 3 feet. And then around 20 knots for most of Cook Inlet, but around Augustine, northwesterlies 40, seas 11 feet. And then for Kodiak Island and the Alaska Peninsula, starting out Thursday, westerlies up to 30 knots, seas up to 11 feet, and on the Bering Sea side, northerlies 25 knots and seas up to 7 feet. And then for on Friday's marine forecast, everybody's northwesterlies now. Gale force 35 knots on the outside, seas up to 12 feet. For Chillicothe Strait, 30 knots and seas 7 feet. And then for the Bering Sea side, 25 knots for Bristol Bay, 30 knots off of Cold Bay, seas up to 9 feet. For the Aleutian chain, responding to the low that's gone well to the east, wind ranging from 30 all the way up to 40 knots, except the far western Aleutians, where it's around 20 knots or so. Seas on the Pacific side, 16 to 18 feet. And then on the Bering Sea side, wind seas ranging from 13 down to 10 feet. And then for Friday's marine forecast, as that new system approaches the western Aleutians, generally easterlies up to about 40 knots or so. On the Bering Sea side, 11 feet, and on the Pacific side, up to 11 feet. And wind should be increasing on Saturday. For the west coast, we have northerly winds, generally 20 up to 30 knots down at the Pribilofs, seas up to 10 feet down there. Norton Sound, north 15, seas 3 feet. And then Friday's marine forecast, responding to the low that's gone well to the east, generally westerlies and northwesterlies, ranging from 20 to 25 knots, seas up to 7 feet for the Pribilofs, and up to 6 feet off of Cape Romanzoff. And then for the Arctic coast, we've got northerlies and easterlies. Along the north slope, 15 to 20 knots, seas up to 4 feet. And then down through from Cape Lisburn all the way down through the Bering Strait, 20 to 25 knots, seas up to 5 feet. And then we look for Friday's forecast, generally westerlies along the north slope, ranging from 15 to 20 knots, seas up to 4 feet. And then westerlies as we go from Cape Lisburn down to the Bering Strait, 15 to 20 knots, and seas up to 4 feet. So looking at a review, Thursday's weather, deep low, 987 millibars with a front wrapped around it, plenty of heavy rain on the east side of that, and of course gale force winds as we just discussed. And then a lot of northerlies on the backside of that, a weak front across the central interior. And then for Friday's weather, 987 millibar low off a Dixon entrance, the front wrapped around it. And lots of outflow winds and northwesterlies on the backside of that low, and the newcomer approaching the western Aleutians, 983 millibars, with a lot of warm air in it, and a front moving in from the northwest, generally weak, and we'll see how that one plays out.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.